What up, peeps? We are back, and let's talk about stances in ESBC. And this is something that was brought up in that alpha combat trailer. So let's kind of freestyle, look at different styles, look at their strengths and weaknesses, see if some of these styles can be a good fit in ESBC. We know they're working on different styles, different stances, being able to block automatically depending on which stance you're in. Let's just dive in and take a look at some examples. So their example and their demonstration was with the Philly shell. And as you can see here in this clip, Rocky Marciano is in that stance. Joe Frazier is swinging, throwing these right hooks. The Philly shell, your left arm's going to be low. Your right hand's going to be kind of closer to your chin. Well, at least in this example, it's going to be depends on whether you're right-handed or left-handed. But in Rocky Marciano's case, it's going to be the low left hand. And naturally, you're going to be able to block those right hooks or any of those body shots that are coming to that side, because your left arm, your elbow is there to take the blunt of that punishment. And as you can see in this clip too, it looks real natural. Marciano's not even worried about that body shot. He's anticipating that punch. He's just kind of keeping his stance together. It looks like this is going to fit in really well. Now, as I slow this down and we break these clips down, you'll see 1, 2, 3 shots blocked by that elbow. But look at this fourth shot. Boom, right up underneath the elbow, makes contact with the body. So you're not fully invulnerable, but your stance is going to be allowed to do the blocking for you, which is really good. So that's really good. They showed us pretty much how this works with the Philly shell. I'm thinking of other defensive stances or just stances in boxing in general. Let's take a look at the Peekaboo stance. So if we have a fighter in the Peekaboo, what can we imagine here? As you look at this fighter, his hands, I'm using Fight Night Champion. They do display some styles. So his hands are high, good upper body movement, looks pretty loose. What can we expect defensively from this fighter? Hands are high, so we could expect him to block quite a few shots to the head, right? But if you look at the midsection, wide open, that would be the vulnerability. If ESBC is implementing these type of defensive features, I think it's cool to kind of look at these different stances. You see the vulnerability here. I mean, midsection's wide open. I could see a jab to the body, really giving this fighter some problems. Of course, if that's well timed, but I could see a lot of the jabs to the head probably getting blocked. Will these types of defensive features that ESBC is implementing, will something like a Peekaboo style do some blocking, just the stance or the style on its own? Let's look at another style, which is a block style in a Fight Night Champion, and that's the Crossarm. When you're in this stance, I mean, your face, your whole head is pretty much covered. I would even say your left arm is there, definitely defending you against the uppercut as well, because you're in that position to where if an uppercut comes, you have your left arm sitting there where you could defend against it. But once again, open for body punches. So, as a matter of fact, I take that back, because I remember watching clips of Big George Foreman. So the body's not completely vulnerable. Guarded his body really well with his left arm in this stance, and parade a ton of shots. That was kind of how Big George he would time those shots, kind of parade them. It just had a really good defensive posture with it. Could this be a style that defends well against uppercuts, that defends well against jabs, hooks? Where's the vulnerabilities? And I'll be curious if this is all percentage based. Like, if I'm in this style, I block 60% of uppercuts just by being in this stance. Some of them may sneak in, some of them may just graze you, who knows? But brainstorming and kind of digging deep in this is really cool to kind of think, how many of these shots will get blocked? Well, my stance, I want to roll with this style. If I go to this stance, is it going to make me strong against these type of punches that are these incoming shots? I could work my craft to my benefit. And we already spoke about the Philly shell, but now that I'm looking at it in Fight Night, also if you look back at other fights, just some real fights, I mean, you take like De La Hoya, Mayweather, for example, that jab was really effective against like the Philly shell or a shoulder roll style. You got to be really skilled and be able to master that style to really pull off those counters. But you could see a style, a stance like the Philly shell or a shoulder roll, you know, a simple jab, double jab, triple jab could probably give that fighter, your opponent, or if you're that fighter who's using the shoulder roll, could give you some problems. The body is well covered here, right hand tucked right close to the chin on your right side of your head, blocking any hooks. Of course, you're gonna have to utilize that upper body movement to avoid some shots and maybe come back with counters. You could be looking to counter with this stance. Also want to look at another stance that I always found interesting, and they call it the mummy. And I've seen some old school fighters using this as well. Sam Langford, George Foreman. It just cracks me up because you kind of have your arms out, kind of high and loose, looking to block and parade incoming shots. Your body's still wide open, but you're in a posture where people are going to have to reach to even get to your body. Your arms are out there being very defensive. I've also heard fighters say that you want to have a decent chin while using this style and strong arms. I can see why the arms would have to be strong, because boy, you're going to have to hold your arms out there and parade and kind of pick off different shots, kind of to take some sting off of those punches as they're coming in. And you have to be skilled too, because they also say that something like this could get overwhelmed. And I wanted to throw this last stance in here just for fun. I mean, could they introduce this into the game? The old school, old-timey Vista Cuff stance? There's a ton of vulnerabilities in this one. I mean, I don't know what this is defending against, but it's just funny to see these fighters from the 19th century. This was their style. I did read that this stance was basically, in that era, the 19th century, it was really heavily emphasized on keeping distance between yourself and your opponent. So they stretched their arms out quite a bit. That's why this stance, it worked back then. That was the style. That was I would say, the boxing meta of back in that day. And that's it, peeps. Let me know what you think about stances, defensive stances in ESBC. This is something that they've spoken about in the past, and let's see how these are implemented. Nothing is completely confirmed, so just brainstorming. Just let me know what your thoughts in the comments. Also, feel free to please like, share, subscribe, and we will keep you updated everything ESBC and all other sports gaming titles. Alright, peeps, you know what it is. Until next time, yeah.